All right, you guys. You probably saw me on the struggle bus there for a minute with that exhaust manifold. Next step up, I got to pull the whole exhaust manifold, get the turbo out, and then we're going to have to strip it down, get the right pieces on the right manifold. Fortunately, I have one, and we'll get it put back together, and then we can get the exhaust put in.
Woo! It's go, 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 go time. Tick, tick, boom.
Get to work. All right. So now that these are out, and I've got them side by side, this one is the TSI manifold, and it's definitely going to need some cleaning up. So I'm going to have to get the sanding block out, get these trued up, get these corners knocked off so that this will seal up nice. But if you look at these side by side, I could see how somebody would get confused. You almost can't tell the difference between the two. I mean, this one with the oil sludge in there leads me to believe that the seals on our turbo are leaking, because we're getting the oil sludge through there. I'll have to check that out. But realistically, like, here's the exhaust gasket. That fits on there. All the holes line up. It's actually the same part number. You put it on here, all the holes line up. So if it's the same exhaust gasket, but here's our correct manifold. See if I can do this where you guys can see it. If I put it on here, I can get the back two to line up, but these two don't even come close. I don't know if you can see it from your angle, but these two don't even come close. If I put the TSI exhaust on the TSI manifold, though, one, it goes together so much easier, but two, you got all four holes line up just bang on. So what's actually the difference between the two is on the FSI manifold, these two ears are closer together. And this bolt hole is actually farther in slightly than on the FSI manifold. So as much as they're sort of interchangeable, they're not. I have the option with this car, because we have the Jelly Bean Racer and because we have another FSI exhaust, we could pull the first portion of the exhaust up to where the cat would be on the FSI. We could pull that off the Jelly Bean Racer, use this turbo, and make it work in the Jetta. But if the computer is programmed for this exhaust and the O2 sensor spacing on this exhaust, if I swap it over, we're going to end up with a check engine light that won't go away. So I think I'm going to dig into this manifold a little bit more. Obviously, I got to swap some stuff over. The oxygen sensor, same part number, so it'll go in here. A lot of the return lines and coolant lines and all of that are the same. I will have to check the wastegate and make sure that it's operating under vacuum, and run through a couple of the other checks on here. The other thing I noticed is the recirc valve on this one, the FSI, and the TSI and the FSI, the valve is actually different. So the plug is the same, but the valves are different, interestingly enough. So I'm gonna dig into this and see if I can figure out if this is just crusty sludge from when they were working on it, or if we actually have a seal that's leaking in this turbo that could be causing a problem. Dig into this just a little bit, see if I can figure that out. We'll get the stuff swapped over onto this manifold, and then we'll get it back in the car. So there you go. The 2-minute version of the difference between a TSI and an FSI turbo exhaust manifold. All right, guys. Which news do you want first? The good news is I got it apart and I figured out what the problem is. The bad news is the fix for it means new parts. So, took it apart. This little gasket, O-ring, was not in the best shape. I don't know if you can see that. So, it had gotten smashed flat in a couple of places. So it was pinched and not actually sealing. That's problem number one. So that's from what I can tell, that's the oil feed side of the turbo. So oil through that one. But the other part of that is, set this up so you can see. These are the bearings that ride on this shaft. Oil flows through the holes in those, but I don't know if you can tell. No, you can't really tell on the camera. We have a couple of thousandths worth of play in there. So for an oil lubed system with this sealing against the shaft, that explains why we've got oil sludge all over the place. So on the feed side of the turbo, we got a little bit of oil there. But then, especially on the hot side, like you can see, this is all oil sludge. It's been leaking out of here. The back side of this, you can see all the oil crust. So it looks like we started leaking oil on here. I don't think that contributed to like a boost leak or something, but it was definitely pissing oil down the exhaust pipe. So you can't buy just this turbo, or you can buy the kit to overhaul this, but I don't know that that's the direction we need to go. I think at this point, I'm gonna go find something at the junkyard. We'll go find another exhaust manifold and swap it out. I thought about, I could gut that, try and take the turbo pieces out of that one and put them on here. May consider that a little bit more, because I can take it apart here and then use the FSI manifold here, use the TSI turbo parts here, and then all the rest of this will match up. So I may go that direction, but I'm going to think about it for a minute. I'm also going to have to go check compatibility and make sure that that's something I can actually do. Stay tuned. All right, guys. So after some meditation and some, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, I think what we're going to do, we're going to clean up this exhaust manifold. Okay, there's a bunch of oil and crap in here, and I'm going to clean up this surface real good. I'm going to take the turbo off of the FSI manifold and bolt it onto here. Because it's just this V-band clamp, there's a locating pin, so I just have to make sure that that's in the same place on the two turbo housings. As long as that locating pin is in the same place on both, we'll clip these together, V-band, tighten it down, and we'll have the correct exhaust manifold and a 2-liter turbo, and all the rest of this can go in the recycle. Less than ideal, but it is what it is. We'll get this cleaned up, get that taken care of. I'm gonna get you guys back on time lapse because this is gonna be major boring. Yeah. Let's get after it. Let's get to work. All right, guys, she's all swapped over. Flanges are cleaned up, smoothed up. Got this one nice and flat so that it'll seal real good for no turbo leaks. All this is all hooked up. Everything's cleaned up, looking beautiful. Now it's time to get her plot back in, get that exhaust bolted up. You know what time it is. Let's get to work. Making some good progress, getting most of this stuff hooked up. Coil packs go in next. I can wait on those. I got this bracket that I forgot. Goes down here on the alternator. I need to make sure I get that in there right away. We got the intake pipe going in there. I got this one plug and I just cannot figure out where it's supposed to go. So that'll be interesting. Gonna have to figure that one out. But there's also the control valve for the intake flaps right here. Has literally the exact same plug on it, but this one's marked yellow. I haven't found any spots that are marked with yellow paint, so we'll have to keep looking. I mean, it doesn't reach real far. It's possible that it goes down and there's something underneath. I don't know yet. So we got that. We got to get the coolant tank reservoir put back in there and get that hooked up. Get some of these other ones tied up. And then we've got some work to do underneath. So we're getting there. Hey guys, I knew we would find it. Look at that. Can you see it? It's all out of focus. Ta-da! We found it. So in case you get in the same situation, this one with a 90-degree connector on it tucks down in here, and then it's actually easier to see from the bottom side. Right there. Click. All right, you guys, that's it for this one. We got a little ways to go. We're down to about the fiddly bits, so we're gonna call it there. Hope you guys enjoyed. Going back to the project videos, we're going to get these uploaded a little bit quicker. And next episode, I think we're going to get the last of the things put together, get the fluids in there, and get her started. So stay tuned.